All right, Coach, this final segment, we're going to kind of go around the field and talk about some of the guys you've got at different competing for the different positions. And, you know, as we go through that, maybe talk a little bit about what you saw from some of these guys at the plate in the fall as well. Let's start off on the infield. Obviously, you brought Riley in. He's going to fit in there somewhere. You've got a number of guys back. You've got some great freshmen coming in as well. How do you see the competition going at the infield heading into the practices starting up here in a few weeks?
Sure. Yeah, no, you've got 5 older guys, and then you've got some very talented freshmen is kind of how it shakes out. So of the older guys in the infield, you know, Caden Grice has moved out of the outfield and is back at first base. So when Caden will be a two-way player as a left-handed pitcher, first baseman. And then, you know, everyone knows what Blake Wright and Ben Blackwell did last year and just had very successful years offensively. So those two guys will be out there for sure. Blake's been nursing a wrist thing that happened over the summer, but we all know what type of competitor he is. Riley Bertram has inserted himself, and those 3 guys I think will make up a combination of second, short, and third. And then you have a veteran, Max Starbuck, who adds valuable depth to the third and second base positions. And then you have these freshmen that have inserted themselves. A guy like Cam Canarella has shown that he can play any infield position, but just brings that smooth left-handed swing. And then the other freshmen, Nolan Araki and Jack Reynolds, Jay Dillard, Cooper Blauser, you know, will all provide depth in the infield as well. But those infield positions, you know, I think we've got a chance to have a very athletic and older, experienced infield for sure. And obviously Coach Schnabel coming over, we were together at Michigan for 10 years, I think is one of the most elite infield instructors in the country. He presents on infield play all the time, and I think as good as those guys already were, he's helped them get even a little bit better.
All right, let's talk philosophy a little bit. You've got all that talent. Do you stick with your one set of guys to build that chemistry? Do you try to get some of the other guys playing time on some of the midweek games? How do you work with so much depth there?
Yeah, that's a tough one because you want to get guys in a rhythm and comfortable and want to get them, you know, used to playing together. And I think the fall is more the time where you split it up. You got 2 teams out there all the time playing, so you get a good feel for what everyone can do. But, you know, this is a meritocracy, and playing time is earned. And so, you know, we would love to get everyone in there, but that's going to come at the benefit of having a commanding lead late in the game a lot of times. You know, we tell the guys we'll be fair, but we're not going to be equal. So it's not going to be these token opportunities to just get out there. You got to earn it. And so, that's just philosophically. We want to win every game, and we feel like the midweek games are super valuable and very important too, especially with our aspirations of hosting the postseason here.
All right, let's move to the outfield, Coach. Some talent coming back there as well. How do you see the battles going as you head into practice?
Well, the outfield might be one of the most competitive battles right now because we've got 8 guys that could all start on any given day. You've got some really good left-handed hitters out there, and Chad Ferry and Tristan Becerra and Gavin Abrams. You've got a switch hitter in Leighton Lackey who had a big fall against East Carolina and UNC Wilmington. And then you got some right-handed hitters that are either proven or just very dynamic with Tyler Corbett, Will Taylor coming back from football, Nathan Hall, Jack Crichton. And then Cam Canarella could bounce out there just to try to get his bat in the lineup. So, you know, those guys in the outfield trying to figure out who goes where, that might be where we see the most variability with our lineup, we're giving, because those guys have all earned the opportunity to get out there and compete. There's nobody on that list who doesn't deserve some playing time, or at least hasn't shown that they deserve some playing time. So I think we'll have some combinations of guys out there just based on who we're facing on the mound. We trust all those guys defensively, and all those guys have shown flashes offensively to be able to either hit for power or run or just be a good hitter. So Clemson fans will see all those guys out there in some form or fashion, and I think that's one of those positions where it'll shake out maybe as we get going through the season and start to figure out, who those top 3 guys need to be on a consistent basis.
You mentioned Will Taylor. Obviously, played a little bit last year, coming back from injury. You're going to get to see him a lot here coming up here. Do you see any difference from Will as you start January versus what you saw early in the fall?
Well, we didn't see Will in the fall.
Didn't see him at all.
We saw him on the gridiron.
Right.
Yeah, and he looked great out there, and he's certainly as athletic as you'll find in a baseball player. And the 2 weeks we've seen, not even 2 weeks, about the time of this interview, we've been going for about a week. And so we've had, this is where we're in our 8-hour period, and only 4 hours of those are baseball. So we've only had a few training sessions, but what I've seen out of him so far in a short stint is he is one of the most explosive athletes I've seen in a baseball uniform. His ability to go from here to there and get to full speed and accelerate quickly is elite. And so it'll be just probably trying to get him under control in the outfield and be able to weaponize his speed and explosiveness. In a short stint already, he's got a very good eye at the plate, makes good plate decisions. That's one of the things we really value offensively, the ability to swing at strikes and take balls. And so he's shown that ability very well already, and he's obviously a very fast mover, and so he's got a lot of bat speed. So I think he's got an extremely bright future. I think there's no question. You see why he was such a highly touted pro prospect. It just looks right. So looking forward to helping him, quickly catch up to getting up to par from a baseball standpoint and getting out of football mode and into baseball mode.
All right, let's talk a little bit behind the plate. Obviously, you got some great talent there as well. And, who are some of the guys you think at the plate Clemson's going to see some great things from this year?
Well, I thought you were going to ask behind the plate, the catcher position.
Right. Well, I did. Behind the plate and then at the
plate. Okay. So, the Clemson fans very familiar with the name Cooper Ingle. He's one of the leading hitters on the team last year. He's, I think, the only player on our team who's on the preseason All-America watch list. So Cooper's a very polished left-handed hitter. He's another guy who probably leads the team in making the correct plate decisions. Just a very advanced eye at the plate and very elite bat-to-ball skills. He can handle, the home plate is 17 inches wide, and we talk a lot about we're not trying to cover all 17 inches, but Cooper Ingle can. And he's just got that ability with 2 strikes, with less than 2 strikes, to put the barrel on the ball. So he's an ideal candidate for a top-of-the-order type of hitter just because of his ability to get on base and see a lot of pitches. He was the starting catcher last year, and profiles to win that job again this year, but he's been hamstrung with an arm issue that took place last year. So he'll be out there for sure, but it's allowed us the opportunity to give some other guys the chance to compete behind the plate. And I would say Jacob Jarrell, a true freshman, has really taken a step forward with the ability to receive the ball. The catcher position, if you look at a catcher's skills of receiving and blocking and throwing, the receiving thing happens the most. It happens, 100 to 120, sometimes 150 times a game. So it's the skill that we feel like if a catcher's going to put himself into the game, he needs to be a good receiver. He needs to be able to make sure every strike that's in that box is called a strike, and he needs to try to get all those borderline pitches. He needs to get about half of them and make those strikes, call them straight balls. It could be a strike, could be a ball, depends on how you catch it. If you catch it like this, it's a ball. Catch it like this, it's a strike. And he's good at that. And then there's other guys too. Billy Amick is more known for his bat, but he has the ability to catch. And Hogan Garner, might have the strongest arm on the team. So in a throwing situation, you could certainly see him being in there. But yeah, we've got some guys behind Cooper that can do it. most notably Jacob Jarrell. But offensively, to get to your question about offense, all those outfielders we named, the older guys in the infield, a guy like Cam Canarella as a freshman, Cooper Ingle, Jacob Jarrell, in a typical season, 12, 13, 14 hitters are going to get 90% of the at-bats. And I don't think we'll be any different. I think we've got the ability not just to have a starting 9, but to have 13, 14, 15 guys that are rotating into that lineup as long as they earn it, and that we prioritize quality at-bats and hard contact and, kind of believe in the philosophy that there's really only 2 counts in baseball. There's less than 2 strikes and 2 strikes. And when you're in less than 2 strikes, you're trying to do as much damage as you can and trying to hit the ball as hard as you can, impact the ball as hard as you can, and that's your AB. When it's 2 strikes, it's our AB. It's a team AB, and you got a job to do, and you got to battle, and you got to do whatever you have to do to put the barrel on the ball. But I'm not a fan of the strikeout. I think it's, especially in the college game, you got to put pressure on the other team, and so these guys have done a good job with a good 2-strike approach of choking up and putting the barrel on the ball and battling. Not that we won't strike out, because everybody does. Pitching's really good. It's older, so you got guys with good stuff, but we're going to certainly compete in there, because about on average at all levels of baseball, about half of the at-bats end up in 2-strike counts, and we're going to do a much better job battling with those 2-strike counts and putting the barrel on the ball.
What kind of progress, mentioned strikeouts and power? Caden Grice, phenomenal freshman year. Last year put up good, did a great job with his home run stats, but also had a high strikeout count. Have you seen some progress there?
Yeah, and I think power hitters, they, at least philosophically for us, will live with higher strikeout totals with a power hitter, because they need to be the most selective, because they should only be swinging at pitches they can do damage with less than 2 strikes. A guy like Caden Grice, I thought my favorite at-bat from the fall was actually one of his at-bats. I was umpiring. I like to umpire the scrimmages so I can see everything. And he was up there with 2 strikes. He was choked up, and the pitcher threw a pitch on the other side of the white line of the batter's box away from him. So he's a left-handed hitter, so it was white line away in the right-handed batter's box. And he barely took a swing. He just kind of flicked his wrists and hit a line drive that didn't go higher than the left field grandstands, but landed in the left field grandstands. So he hits a line drive oppo home run. That's hard to do. But I think for him, it was kind of like a, whoa, I don't have to do too much to impact the ball and hit it hard, just with the physical specimen that he is. Guys like me and you, we gotta cut it loose. But a guy like him, he doesn't have to do too much. So that was great to see, and Caden had an awesome fall. And I think with all players, when they have a great year and they go into the next year, it's almost like you have to remember what your mindset was going into the year the first time. You weren't maybe trying to set out to have the All-American. You were just trying to compete and win pitches and make hard contact. And I think also the outfield's a lonely place sometimes, and I can say that from experience. And sometimes when you go out to the outfield and you could go a whole game and not get any action, and you see a lot of outfielders at the Little League level to even the college level, and the guys are doing their swings in the outfield in between pitches. So just getting him back to first base and back pitching again, I think, will be 2 huge things defensively that will help his offense.
All right, folks, lots of things there to get you guys excited. Big season gets going here in about a month, I guess. Expect to see some pretty good crowds here with this new coach and these great players coming back, and a lot of guys mixing in. A lot of excitement, Coach. Appreciate you taking time to preview the season for us.
Thank you, Robert. Great to be on the show.
Thanks.
Hey, Clemson fans, make sure to check out Clemson Insider for all your athletic coverage. Nobody does it better.